welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Skylar.
And I'm the physical embodiment of the U.S. military budget.
You got a name or?
No, just that.
Fair enough. And this week we are discussing Series 3, Episode 3, Gridlock by our Lord and Savior, Russell T Davies.
The based god.
No, that's Lil B. He's the based king.
Oh, damn.
So this is a fun thing that I'm just going to start this out because Skylar pointed this out too, but I'm going to point this out here. This is like something like they go back to New Earth in this episode, and it's like 100 years later, but they reuse that setting and do something else with it, which is something that the show, I don't feel like it does outside of like specifically arc-based stuff or like companions' homes. Everything else like leaves like it's just like one and done, which is a real shame because I think there are a lot of locations that they could have gotten more mileage out of, and I think revisiting New Earth is a good idea, especially because, as you all know, I thought the first time they went sucked shit.
Yeah, is this the last time they do this? Cause,
yes,
I know
I think so. This is the last time they go to New Earth. I'm not sure if it's the last time they revisit a specific location.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because I'm thinking, I know the Ood have come up, they come up a couple
Yeah,
more
but they're
times.
not in the same place.
Right. I'm racking my brain, but besides, sort of home locations,
There's a general trend in the
seeing.
RTD era to, even if you're not revisiting certain locations, you're revisiting certain creatures or plot ideas, just because within his run there's the SJA and Torchwood and all that stuff. Like, we see the Slitheen a bunch of times. We see them twice within
Sarah Jane,
Doctor Who and then Sarah Jane. So it's more common here.
There's the Cyberwoman, but let's not talk about
less.
the Cyberwoman.
Oh, no. But yeah,
God.
it pretty much stops once we get to Moffat, because then, with only one exception, we have companions who stay on for more than one season, so the impact of seeing it through new eyes is kind of lessened. But it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I definitely wish kind of maybe kept happening more. I think there are, like you say, there are definitely a couple locations that I think would have been interesting to see maybe 50 or 100 years from wherever we visited them.
Yeah.
What's the episode? With the 12 episode with Bill, the Happy Planet.
Smile,
Yeah,
Smile, the episode that has no right to be as good as it is.
Yeah, I feel like seeing that colony 50 years later would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Just something like that would be good to see come up again, but like you say, this is sort of the last time they really do this, and it works really well in this one.
Yeah. And you don't even agree with me that the first trip was shit.
You're right, I don't. I think the first one was pretty okay. And this one was, definitely this one is a lot better, but
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this one is definitely very good.
So one thing I have to appreciate about this episode is it's another thing that highlights RTD's. It's another thing that I think really highlights RTD's strengths, which is very good at character moments, which makes sense because he did a lot of character dramas before he did like the sci-fi stuff of the Whoniverse. He did Queer as Folk. He did The Second Coming, which had Christopher Eccleston in it. That was his niche. He was really good at that. And he still is really good at that. But I think also one of the things that sets his run of Doctor Who apart from a lot of the others is I love like sort of the camp weird nature of this, which is I think really exemplified by how the stinger, which is like, oh yeah, there's things down in the motorway in the fast lane that are like destroying the cars or whatever, but the people in the car are like fucking like American Gothic cosplayers. Like, what? Like, it makes no sense, and they never talk about it. And I think that's like, I love that. I love RTD's weird, campy, like melodramatic shit.
Yeah, just watching the episode, I've noticed that a lot of the better episodes in RTD's era tend to be less focused on the monsters, quote unquote monsters.
Yeah. No, that's not. Yeah. There is there are exceptions, like Moffat episodes especially, but
no, I'm talking about RTD era.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about Moffat episodes that were written during RTD era,
okay.
like Blink or like Empty Child.
I get you now. Yeah, there's exceptions, but I feel like very often a lot of especially the RTD written episodes, the best ones.
Yes, especially because he's very much a characters person, I think.
Yeah, and so you see this in some of the earlier episodes from the last two seasons, but I think I really noticed it in this episode because just you get through almost the entire episode without saying a monster.
Yeah.
In quotations.
Yeah, it's a great well, if it weren't for all the CGI cars, it would be a great budget saver. But that's fine too, because it allows it this is one of the things where it just the idea of this was way more fascinating than the idea of the hospital in New Earth. All the world building shit in this episode and the various people that you meet, these would be if this was well, I mean, the map design would be a little bit limiting, but if this was a 30-hour Deus Ex style immersive sim RPG, or I mean, I haven't played it yet, but Disco Elysium, where it's a very talk focused RPG, very character focused kind of deal, I would love the shit out of it. There's so much personality in this episode, even from the bit characters.
Yeah, and I'm not to the same extent probably, but I do agree. I think there's just a lot of good little details in it. Just sort of when they're in the car, they sort of bring up we have these things that let you survive on your own for a while, which is how people live for years down here. And then also just the part on the sort of above ground with the mood patches and the way that gets worked back in later. All of it is just really, it works together very well, and at the same time it creates the sort of aesthetic for the world that you sort of get into really easily.
Yeah, it's a very interesting evolution of the concept, because I liked the last time we visited this planet more than you, Geoff, but even then the concept and the theme isn't that exciting or especially novel, and it's not
New Earth
prime civilization
New Earth
falls
kind of, it was kind of ooh, we can make a shiny futuristic civilization with CGI, and then let's bring Cassandra back. How do we do that? And then what is the monster plot in this episode to pad out the runtime? That is what New Earth feels like. Gridlock feels what if we take a future thing, but we use it to talk about traffic in cities, and this really interesting setup of what if everyone was in traffic every waking moment of their lives for years with no end, and you're just trapped in this smog-filled motorway where everyone's built their own family in their cars.
Also, this is basically the only time we see people who aren't rich in this setting, because we see there's the satellite episode, and those are rich people. We see a lot of rich people in the hospital and workers, but these are just everyday people. It's not everybody was thriving normally in this civilization anyways. So it's all cool.
A lot of the aliens or non straight up human character designs are a lot simpler, but I think that works too, because it gives it a much more sort of lower class, down to earth feeling. Anyways, so yes. Also, I like how, especially after last week being so dismal that I stopped watching, how, like, straight away, Martha will often call the Doctor on his bullshit for, like the times when they are, like, together or interacting in this episode, even though that is fairly, like, that's not that much, they don't do it that much. Like, for the times that they are, she is very willing to call him on his bullshit. Like how, like, she notices when he deflects off of the Gallifrey question, and he takes her to New Earth and mentions that he was there before, and she immediately was like, was that with Rose?
Rebound.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, that was such a good little quip moment. And his face reaction to that was just like, oops.
Yeah, like, oh, shit, someone called me out.
It's also like, it sounds like such a simple thing, but lesser writers could have just reused this location and not used the fact that he took Rose here to, like, any of the drama or the benefit of the characters. But they use that here, so it doesn't just feel, like, contrived of, like, oh, we gotta go back here again, but, like, no, it's an actual... It's an actual thing, so that was appreciated.
Like, I think the thing that, like, one of the things that the RTD era does the best out of the three showrunners that we have is continuity. Moffat tried to do, like, a big continuity thing throughout all of 11's lifespan, but it sucked, so I'm not counting it. But in the, like, RTD, like, there's a sense of continuity if, like, sometimes companions will show up early ahead of time, or they will have been in the world with the events and have been affected by events prior that already happened, and then obviously you get stuff like Stolen Earth, Journey's End, where it's just big Avengers team-up moment. But I think that's a really cool thing. Now, admittedly, in Chibnall's case, I can't really claim whether or not he's done continuity well because he's only had 2 seasons, but considering the first season ignored basically all the previous continuity entirely, and the second one was like, okay, I'm bored with the continuity that we have, let's just mess with everything, I guess, for the fuck of it. I'm also disinclined to count that unless the next, like, 3 seasons in his 5-year plan are radically different than the past few.
Yeah, I'll give Moffat all the shit I will, but, like, at least, I don't know, the changes he attempted to make at least seemed like, hey, this could really go somewhere if someone else takes it and goes somewhere awesome with it. Like, the Gallifrey stuff, most of it wasn't great. Like, River Song kind of ended up being a disappointment. The weird bridging connection between 11 and 12, aside from Clara, is Vastra, Jenny, and Strax, of all things. So it's like... Yeah,
and you get the things like the Silence Arc, but considering the majority of that is in Series 6, which is, in my opinion, probably the worst overall series of the of the revival. And yes, I am including series 11 and 12 in that. I genuinely cannot think. Yeah,
those are strong words.
Yeah, I genuinely cannot think of, like, because, like, you know, yes, series 11 is incredibly bland, but it is consistently, like, decent tier. And it's got real standouts like Demons of the Punjab and It Takes You Away. And Series 12 has Fugitive the Jadoon, even if the series finale fucks all that over. The episode in itself is still really solid. And Haunting of Villa Diodati and the Tesla episode was pretty good too. But, like, Series 6, I can't think, like, let's see. I guess Impossible Planet Day of the Moon is fine, but it's kind of got the Spyfall problem where it sets up an extremely disappointing finale. So it's kind of tainted in hindsight. And then, like, most of, like, Curse the Black Spot, Night Terrors,
The I
James
forget what they're
Corden
called.
Revisit Part 2.
The Flesh
Let's
two-parter
Kill
is
Hitler. Yeah, Flesh two-parter is good, I guess. But still, it's like it was a real. I think it was a real off season for Moffat.
Oh god, I just remembered Let's Kill Hitler. That was certainly an episode.
Yeah, no, even Moffat was like, yeah, that episode sucked. Even
Wasn't
Moffat thought it was bad.
Wasn't that at the height of when he was also doing Sherlock stuff? Or
Yes,
do I have the timeline
exactly.
mixed up?
Exactly. No, that is definitely the thing, is he vastly overextended himself, and it made Doctor Who's quality decline. And then when he came back and focused on Doctor Who more with 12, it made Sherlock's quality nosedive.
Oof.
God, season 4 was bad.
Anyways, we're watching Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, we're still like 5 minutes into the episode. Yeah.
Continuity.
So you move into like future drug stuff. With like all the emotions and stuff. Now, normally, I'm in favor of like decriminalization and legalization and stuff, but in this case, this shit that they're selling is like way harmful.
Yeah. These are also like undercity markets, which would lead me to assume they aren't like by the up and up anyways.
Yeah.
In terms of quality.
Yeah.
But yeah, same
Like,
with
do you think,
decriminalization.
Yeah, no, I was just like, I was wrestling while I was watching the episode for a bit, because I was like, is Ten a narc? And I'm like, no, because, well, I mean, technically yes, but in this case, I'll let it slide, because not good.
Just like, forget your trauma drug. And I'm like, okay, I'd be tempted, but like,
that's
probably
not
a good
healthy.
thing it doesn't exist.
Yeah, let's not. Oh, and I do like the line of, are they selling drugs? And the doctor's like, I think they're selling moods. And Martha's like, same thing, isn't it? See, the thing is I've noticed whenever we do RTD episodes specifically, there are all these little quips and zingers in the script dialogue that just kind of, you don't think about them, but when you watch the episode and when you read the transcript back, they really jump out to you. And it's just, he's so good at flavor.
Yeah, there's, I think, even in the bad episodes, I think we've always had, one or two really good quips.
Yeah.
That definitely stands out in, every episode so far with RTD.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then Martha gets kidnapped by two people, and it's turned out that she's been kidnapped because they need 3 people to get into the carpool lane from hell.
3 adult people, because the woman is pregnant and the future doesn't count that as a full person, so suck it, Republicans.
Get fucked.
God damn.
Oof. Yeah.
And then they get onto the
then they get onto the highway, which I just like to take. Oh yeah, then there's of course the lines of how long is it gonna take to get there? 6 years, and what? Also,
yeah,
Martha being good. I feel like in general, the general trend with Martha is that she is extremely perceptive. Like the fact that she notices that, I can't remember the name of her, the kidnapper, one of her kidnappers who's female, the one who's pregnant. She notices that she has the mood patch on. Which I wouldn't, I'm a fucking dumbass with no situational awareness. I wouldn't have seen that. That's great. Good for you, Martha. This is why you're, tied for my favorite.
It's all that medical training. She notices things.
Yeah. the Doctor goes out on the motorway, and I'd just like to take a moment to point out that the Time Lords have something called, like, a respiratory bypass, where, like, they can survive, like, basically in a vacuum for, like, 10 minutes. And the fumes, exhaust fumes in the motorway are so built up and so toxic that even he starts coughing.
Damn.
I mean, they probably weren't thinking about that, but, like...
I mean, I think it's a good, like, I think it's pretty good, like, story integration, so...
Yeah.
You know what? I know this is my RTD bias speaking, but I'm willing to, be like, yeah, that's absolutely intentional.
Alright, I'll believe you. Cool moment. Give it a thumbs up out of thumbs.
Yeah, I know someone will eventually call me out on my implicit RTD bias, and to that I will respond, pick the fucking picture of, like, the Chad meme where they're just like, yes.
Yes.
Fun fact, I realized after looking at that meme the last time that I own and literally use the headset that is in that exploitable. It is literally the one that I own.
Congrats.
Anyways. Yeah, then we're introduced to Brannigan, who is an awesome character. It's like, yeah, Irish World War II aviator cat person. Why the fuck not? Who somehow had kittens with a human woman. I'm here for it. Don't give a fuck. RTD gonna RTD.
I love this for two reasons. One, because I know... I'm disappointed to assume that if this was done, like, in the modern times, they'd do some, like, weird CGI or, like, practical
that
creature,
would be
but
creepy
it's no, it's
and
just
disgusting. Just have cats.
Fucking
Cats are
exactly.
adorable.
And second, it reminds me of the Khajiit in Elder Scrolls, because whether you turn out to be, like, a bipedal cat person or a four-legged cat person just depends by, like, when you are born, and, like, the position of the sun and the moon, I think, determines that. So it just made me think
more
of
than
that.
me because I don't like Elder Scrolls, so
Yeah, it was just like, hey, there's bipedal cat people and there's, like, four-legged cat people, and both are valid and both are awesome. I know that's probably not what they were going for with that. I can definitely guarantee that, but it still amused me.
yeah.
Let's be real, if that society existed in real life, one of them would be racist to the other.
Yes. We're going to move on. We're just going to, like, ignore that for now, but yes.
Don't ruin my dreams of cat utopia, Avery. Gosh.
Put that on
Anyway,
a t-shirt.
Back to the episode.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Then we're introduced to the old lesbians. God bless Russell T Davies.
Hell yeah.
Like every single, like, character in this episode, I feel like that you're introduced to, my reaction was just like, hell yeah.
It really was an episode of just like, you want cool side characters? Fucking here! They were just like, gay lesbian older couple? Here! Cool cat people with Irish accents, or Scottish something accent.
Irish accents who are dressed as World War II fighter pilots.
Here! The guy from American Psycho? Here!
Those two, like Asian-looking people. Oh yeah, and the guy from American Psycho who has, like, a fucking, like, distillery in his car.
Oh god.
Yeah, no, it's great. See, I guess, I mean, they don't say that that's what it is till way later in the episode, but I think it is important to mention. The monsters in this episode are the Macra, who are actually they're in Classic, like way early Classic, like 1 or 2, I think.
Oh
yeah,
man.
2, yeah. Second Doctor stuff, and I believe they're much different in 2 stuff. Like they're actually like the term that the wiki uses is sapient, but I'm not sure if that's the best term to use. The point is that they're not as sort of like the ones down in the fumes here are a lot less sort of well, they are conscious, but they're much more like animals and not like people level intelligence. So yeah, I mean I'm not entirely sure, like that might just be like a nerd moment and then like how do we make this fit, but I don't know, maybe that sets some Classic people off. If you don't like this episode because of that, that's fine, I guess. But I just felt it was interesting to note because it's a case where like they brought a Classic like monster back, but they really changed it. Because like basically the only similarity that I can tell between the two is that they're both crab people. That's about it.
It's the year 5 billion plus. You have a little bit of leeway in there.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Crab people. Crab
people.
I don't even remember what that's from. That's just stuck in my head.
I don't know either. I heard you starting and was like, I need to go with it.
It's a thing from somewhere, but I don't remember what. Pretend it was some funny reference while I look it up.
Oh,
it's from South Park.
Oh, of course. Anyways, what I was gonna say is oh yeah, so another thing I like about this episode is like despite the fact that we all know that RTD is an atheist, he's not like dismissive of religion in general, like the way that it is portrayed here, especially because they're using specifically like British or traditional sort of Christian hymns, is in a way that's very much like, yes, God may not be real, but the power that you get from a connection to spirituality and the power that you get from these songs and connection that everyone knows these and together is singing, like that's powerful, and he understands that. And I think that's a really nice part of this episode, speaking as someone who is an atheist but is also like very much a universalist Unitarian and is very like, yeah, other religions are okay by me. Oh yeah, also the doctor ditches his coat and was like, Janis Joplin gave me that coat.
Which implies that they totally fucked.
Depends on which incarnation met Janis Joplin. Because it can't have been 10, because it was already in the wardrobe.
True.
1? No.
No, I'd put my bets on like
8.
4 or 8.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single thing from 8, but just from what you've said, 8 seems right.
Yeah.
8 seems like the kind of person who would vibe with Janis Joplin.
Yeah. So yeah, and then you just get this thing where he's like moving through the capsules and like all these are like super low budget, but you're just like, that's an interesting character design. I wonder what their deal is.
Eventually it's just like nudist couple, and you're like, yeah, that fits.
Hey, we're stuck in traffic.
For multiple years, might as well.
Honk, honk.
What if we kissed in the New Earth motorway? Haha, unless.
Oh my god. I also love the sort of song they all sing. That was a good little moment.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, where they're singing a hymn. That is an actual hymn.
Oh shit, is it?
Yes. Both of them are.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
It's like, motherfucker, I ain't writing 2 hymns from scratch. You kidding me?
And Skylar is the person here who's probably the most qualified to write those.
Yeah, it's a the genre of Christian music isn't teeming with innovation. I think I can say so uncontroversially. So yeah. Anyways,
I also really like the point where they're that Martha's car is like down in the fast lane in the darkness, and there's like weird noises, and the guy's like, it's just the exhaust fumes, and Martha's like, it's just the ventilation shaft, and Martha's like, then why are there exhaust fumes everywhere?
And he's just like, oh, I don't know. And then they just sort of keep going for a while and then almost get their shit kicked in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then they get called up by like the people who get killed off, who's like a dog person and like 2 other women, and I'm just like, hey, these are also cool looking characters. What's their deal?
I mean, my question is, why were they down there and how did they know what was going on?
Probably because they had 3 people and were getting munched on.
That's fair, yeah. Oh my god. But then, all that I could think of in the sort of the shot where they're trying to fly away and the crabs are grabbing at them was Crab Rave, and it just sort of playing in my head.
Oh my god. Someone should make a fucking Crab Rave. No. Wait.
You can do that.
I can do that.
That's the thing that you do.
You hold the power.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many clear shots we have in the macro in this episode, but I could probably do it. Anyways.
The doctor, he gets saved by the cat lady from New Earth, and she's like, Doctor, blah, we have a thing, and then she teleports him out, and he's like, why don't you teleport more people? And she's like, oh, it doesn't have enough power. And then
That's another thing that I like. If this was another writer, they'd just have her appear, teleport him out, and they wouldn't do anything. And then, like, the fact that 10 is explicitly like, yo, hang on, can't you just go do that for everyone else?
Yeah, and then she's like, oops, no power. And then it works with the next thing, because they actually have no power.
Yeah.
And
I do like this.
Face does a super space fart into the power and gives everyone power.
Yeah.
Amazing. I do like how, I mean, you can argue this isn't obviously based off of reality, in this sense, but we have this impression that like, some aspect of the upper echelons of New Earth have totally screwed over the poor. And while that's most definitely true, their the upper crust's last act was to be like, okay, all of us are screwed, but we can save them. And they probably didn't know about the crab people, so they were like, okay, at least they can live. At least they can have a dance with the friendly crab people, and we'll quarantine the planet so that this doesn't get out anywhere. That's a level of foresight from rich aristocrats that I seldom see in fiction. So that was like, even though that's not exactly like a realistic or like politically relevant twist.
Maybe New Earth is like the Federation, so like it's like actually like not shitty. But to be fair, actually, from what I understand in like Deep Space Nine and stuff, they were like, no, the Federation's actually pretty shitty, guys.
They got into big political commentary.
Yeah.
It wavers from idealistically less shitty and not so idealistically less shitty.
Yeah.
I would, since nobody's going to understand this reference, but since I'm rewatching it, I'm going to make it. I would liken New Earth more to the Alliance from Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly, but you should.
Is that an anime?
Yes, and it's the best anime, and you should watch it. It's very good.
Is it on anything that I can access?
anyone can get on less than good sites like
The notpiratebay.net.
totally
In a
not
video
kick
game,
ass.
yes. Understood. I will look forward in Minecraft. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, Martha has a good idea that's like, hey, let's turn all the lights off. Again, like, I feel like a lot of RTD episodes, and especially, like, his best ones, have really tight, like, plotting that makes sense. And like, very, like, he's definitely, like, the 45-minute syndrome in this episode is not because the story is being told too quickly. The 45-minute syndrome is just because these people are cool and I would like to see more of them. The actual plotting is really good.
Yeah, when I think of this episode, I often, like, imagine that Brannigan is in more of it, but then I, like, see it and I'm just like, oh, it's not, like...
Yeah, he's really not there that much.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally
but,
have the same thing. I actually misremembered a couple lines from this episode that were like unimportant, but yeah, I totally misremembered how much Brannigan was in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, the face of Bo shows up. So I guess we can say hi to Captain Jack several episodes early.
Hey.
I would really, like, he's never going to do it, but I would love an episode where RTD, and I'm specifically saying RTD and not Chris Chibnall, actually for real, like, explains that. Like, for real.
Which part?
The Jack being a face of Bo thing. They've just said yes, but they haven't explained why or how.
I mean, the way I always saw it is like, what happens when you just keep aging forever when you're not...
But he doesn't technically age.
No, he does. He says, I think in his last appearance before the more recent one, he says to the doctor that, like, he's starting to get, like, gray hairs and stuff.
So I
It's
guess
just,
he
like,
just
really
ages
slow.
really slowly. Yeah,
So, I mean,
okay.
the way it played out in my mind is that just, like, you know, it's this big question mark. What happens if you're in a not fully immortal body that keeps aging but you can't die? Like, what does that look like past a certain point? And I guess it's that.
Fair enough, I guess.
And it's,
I was just thinking, though, that it would be pretty interesting to see him in, like, a more intermediary stage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was like, yeah, sort of like not full head in a tank, but like starting to look more alien.
Yeah.
Isn't there I believe it's in series 6. I forget the character's name. The larger blue alien man who explains that he has this vortex manipulator that he got off of a beheaded time agent. So we know that, like, of course we don't see him, but, like, that's eventually, like, a thing that probably happens that leaves him just ahead. That it doesn't happen naturally. Yeah. It's never been officially confirmed, but that's kind of been, like, the headcanon that, like, oh, eventually he gets beheaded. And of course that wouldn't kill him, but yeah.
That's a pretty interesting theory, honestly.
Yo, guys, breaking news! Breaking news!
What?
G. Linner got suspended, finally! He's out, boys!
Didn't that happen, like, last week and then he just came back?
No, he lost his, like, blue tick.
Huh. Well, Pog.
Yeah, Poggers. Genuine Poggers moment. Anyways.
Write this down in the history books, kids.
Yeah.
This podcast, breaking news.
So yeah, then the doctor saves the day, and everything opens, and, like, yes, this is very melodramatic and very silly, But fuck you, contemporary reviewers. I don't give a shit. This episode is poggers.
It earns it, too, because that fate is horrifying. Like, oh, we've been driving for 12 years. Just like, kill me.
And you will be until the day you die. Then the face of Bo says his good old "you are not alone" thing, which I do think, like, I will say, if Jack actually is the face of Bo, that is pretty cool, because it means that the entirety of this arc is a paradox. Sort of.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Because he's there with the Saxon stuff.
It's a closed loop, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, okay then.
Cool, RTD. Another Poggers moment for RTD.
Time fuckery abounds.
And then finally, the best part of this episode. Well, yeah, the best part of this episode, and an episode that is already good, is the part where Martha straight up puts her foot down, sits down, and goes, "I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what the fuck is happening. Like, what's with you? Why are you dodging my question about your homeland? What the fuck?"
Yeah, that was very good. She doesn't do the, oh, well, you know, I'll just keep going with him kind of thing. She's like, dude, what the fuck is your deal?
And this is one of the very great... This is, like, I honestly think this might be my favorite, like... My favorite, like, talking about the Time War thing in all of New Who, I think.
Yeah, it's really good, because 10 never even really described Gallifrey to Rose.
Yeah,
or
actually,
anyone.
he didn't.
This is the first time, I believe, like, when I was going through this, because I started with 11, but we hadn't been to Gallifrey yet. So I think this was my first introduction to, like, what Gallifrey looked like, and the fact that it's, like, happening over people basically reclaiming their home, and you see kind of like an orange sky.
Yeah, while hymns play.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really good. So yeah, unless anybody has anything else to say, I guess moving on to ratings.
Yep.
This episode, I think, is really consistently strong, and I feel like it has kind of a reputation for being like, yeah, it's a meh kind of oaky episode. No, I think this episode is really fucking good. I think this is one of the stronger RTD episodes that we've seen. It's definitely better than his New Earth effort last year, which was also by him. Yeah, I think this is like, it's not like rose tier, but for like an episode that's like not implicitly plot arc important, I think it's one of his strongest efforts. So yeah, I have absolutely no hesitation in giving it a 9.
Yeah, this episode brings everything together. There's continuing stuff with Martha and the Doctor. The atmosphere is brilliant. It uses a returning location to good effect, and not just as an excuse to reuse stuff. The side characters are all, even if they're not all like fleshed out, they're all like interesting and feel like they're a part of this world. Face of Bo, hymns, just like everything is working at full cylinders. It's not like a perfect all-time great, but it's definitely, I think it is definitely underrated. So yeah, also 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a good episode. It does good character things and has a good world and does cool things in that world with the good character things. 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a really solid thing.
Torchwood time.
No, actually, because we have to talk about what we're talking about next week first. I have a question for you guys. Would you like to cover the Infinite Quest, which is the animated episode, next week? I think that's like a good place to put it because, like, it's between this and then the Daleks in Manhattan two-parter, and then you have Lazarus, which is going to be like probably we're going to kick the shit out of that episode. Then Chibnall's first episode, then Human Nature, Family of Blood, then Blink, and then the series finale. Like, it feels like after this point, like, it starts gaining, like, a lot of traction, so I think, like, next week would be a really good place to put it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, next week, then, we will be covering the animated episode, The Infinite Quest, which I don't think has, like, a canonical placement, so I think I just decided to put it there as a kind of good place to put it.
I hadn't even heard of it, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Until then, we have our other segment to go to first. So this week, we are discussing Series 1, Episode 6, Countryside by Chris Chibnall. I'm going to go ahead and say this right here, right now. I think this is possibly Chibnall's best episode... second best, because he also wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is a later episode, which is really good and is also, I believe, my mom's favorite Torchwood episode ever. So yes, second best thing that he's written for the Hooniverse, I think. And surprisingly solid, considering it has written by Chris Chibnall in the title credits.
Yeah, and also just disclaimer for, like...
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, content warning for gore, violence, cannibalism, and the most deplorable acts of humanity? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that about covers it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I mean since we're not, since our Torchwood discussion is usually like a lot shorter and a lot more freeform, I'm just going to go out right ahead and say this. This is like the other interesting thing that's like a rarity about this is the fact that it's probably one of the darkest things other than like Children of Earth and Miracle Day in the Hooniverse, and it is also like the first thing in the Hooniverse since like they stopped the historicals in the 60s that has absolutely no sci-fi elements in it. Jack doesn't die and come back once. They don't use any of their fancy Torchwood scanner tech, at least nothing that isn't beyond the realms of what we already have. There's no aliens, no time travel, no space travel. It's almost like it's like a normal like crime drama.
Yeah, it's and the thing is, they totally set it up as if it's going to be, you know, an alien.
Yeah, like they like the majority of the episode's runtime has it set up as an alien.
And then you sort of find out, even like the directing and like the cold open sort of makes it seem
everything totally plays off of like, yes, this is very clearly an alien that is very clearly doing bad, nasty, gory things.
Yeah, it was just, that reveal was very like, oh, and then you sort of have to like scramble back and recontextualize the whole episode and be like,
yeah, and I knew it was coming too. Because I've seen this before, and that's not something you forget.
Yeah, I would agree. I think sort of like when we get the first like actual body in the woods with Gwen and Owen, that's when you were like, oh, and then just like as the episode goes on, you just keep getting like more, and you're just like, Jesus.
Yeah, I think this is probably, like, there are a couple other occasions, but I think this is probably, like, outside of Children of Earth, one of the darkest episodes of like the main two series. Not talking about Miracle Day because I hadn't seen it and it's absolute dog shite. Yeah. It's a thing, very much.
It continues the trend of, like, when the Doctor isn't around, alien shit is hard to deal with, but it also, like, even steps away from that and says, like, screw alien shit, human shit is hard to deal with as humans.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And obviously the whole show can't really be about that, even though there's, like, aspects of that throughout the entire thing. But it does intrigue me that, like, it's something very human and personal and literally, like, no aliens at all that kind of, like, kickstarts the whole Owen and Gwen thing. Like, not one of the supernatural stuff. There's been or not supernatural, you know what I mean? There's been hints of it before, but, like, this is where, like, it seems to, like, start and, like, continue.
Also, thing that I noted, I think this is the first episode out of all of the Torchwood episodes that we've watched so far that actually, I think, adequately gives all 6 members something to do. Like, it is surprising, especially considering how shit he's been at it recently, how well all the characters are balanced in this episode.
I'm starting to think his major strength is, like, just straight up crime stuff, because at least the first season of Broadchurch is, like, hella solid. I know it's not the same as, like, writing everything, being a showrunner, but, like, that's solid stuff, and this is really solid stuff, and then I compare it to, like, series 11 or 12, and I'm just like, what happened, man? I mean, I know it gets harder to be on your creative game as you, like, go forward in your career, but damn.
Yeah. Also, it was funny because I think I made a post in our Discord, which plug right here. We have a Discord. If you go to our Twitter, you can join it. Link is in our Twitter bio. I think I posted like, oh, Owen's actually being funny for once. Like, followed 5 minutes later by the inevitable, like, oh, never mind. But for a bit, he's actually funny. In that sort of, like, yes, this is an absolute dick face kind of way. Also, it does actually give him an actual character because, like, he doesn't, like, when shit's actually gotten real and, like, he has to, like, literally pull shotgun shells out of Gwen, like, he's not fucking around.
Yeah, he gets very seriously very quickly.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I will say there is some stupid things in this episode, like the fact that, like, why are people leaving their keys in their car when they get out? Like, what? Or, like, even, like, in Owen, like, in the Stinger, like, yes, okay, horror tropes, I understand. But in Owen's case, it's even more egregious, because he just left the fucking keys in the SUV while they were setting up camp. And they call him out on it, but they were just like, really? Why? Why did you do that?
I suppose out of all characters, I could buy it the most with him, but that's, like, a weak-ass excuse.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially after the past few weeks, they seem to be, like, breaking Yonto even more. 'Cause, hoo boy, he gets the shit kicked out of him this episode. What else? Gwen starts making an uh-oh stinky at the end of this episode, which is a thing that I regularly is like, yeah, that's not good. This continues throughout the rest of the season too, the thing with her and Owen. This is like a minor recurring arc through the rest of the season, and it's not great. It's really not great. Especially because Reese is like an actually good character. Reese is great.
I do like that it makes sense, even though I'm just like, no, honey, like, no.
Yeah,
like,
no.
If you're gonna do an infidelity, or I suppose it wouldn't be infidelity.
Least do it.
Unfaithful arc.
At least do it with like fucking. At least do it with Jack. Well, actually, no. The thing is that Jack has the decency to be like, "Yo, that's not cool." And like literally, I'm not even making this up. In this show, he has the decency to be like, "No, that's not cool." Because Jack Harkness respects consent. What a god. Yeah, and also like little bits like they get like well, Owen's bitching about the countryside, like Yanto goes and gets burgers, and Tosh is like, yeah, I had a friend of mine who got hepatitis off a burger, and everyone's just kind of like, oh fuck.
Yeah, that was a great little moment. I totally noted that.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's definitely like. Yeah, and you know, I watched someone who pointed out that like it reuses a lot of like it uses like a lot of horror or like slasher film tropes, and like yes, I can see that it does, but at the same time they're effective, and I think context matters because this is the Hooniverse specifically, and like something of this level on television. Like, I know, like, British TV is, like, kind of a whole different deal than, like, American TV. Because, like, obviously on, like, HBO or something, you'd get that shit constantly. Like, I watched, like, all 3 seasons of Westworld back when quarantine started, and there were many points where it's just like, oh, yep, okay, thanks HBO for, like, shoving gore in my face again. But, like, outside of, like, the real premium, like, cable channels who know that they can get away with it, like, I feel like it... like that kind of shit doesn't show up on American TV, especially because like when you think about it, Torchwood is on BBC. That's state funded.
Also, I could see the argument that like this has some real like we are the real monsters energy, but I'll let it slide here because usually again in the context of the Hooniverse, that's not the case.
Yeah,
and
no, it's sometimes people can be the sometimes people. It's like sometimes people can be just as horrific, and not everyone is fucked.
Yeah. So again, I totally agree with that.
Cough.
Context matters.
Last of Us 2. Cough.
Yikes. That's a doozy. I'm gonna be playing that soon. Anyways, yeah, I'll let it go here because
I'm not, because I have a whole bunch of stuff that I will be playing instead. Because Steam sale and hopefully new computer. Anyways. Any other thoughts on the episode? Overall ratings? I think I'd give it like a 7.5 to an 8. Like it's a very strong episode. I think it's Chibnall's strongest effort that we've seen so far, and probably one of the stronger episodes of Torchwood so far.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not the best thing ever, but it uses its twists and its tropes and its everything characters shebang.
Yeah.
I can talk pretty well, and it's a good showing of Chibnall's strengths, I guess.
Yeah. Question mark.
We don't really have a consistent showing of his strengths for me to say that definitively, but I'll be charitable. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say, I don't know, I was pretty, like, in terms of Torchwood episodes, I was definitely pretty engaged with this one. I enjoyed its beats a lot. I thought the sort of twist with the recontextualization was very good, you know, like, oh, you know, humans can be, or, you know, I don't want to say inhuman, like, because it's a very human thing, and that's sort of the point at the end, where she's like, why'd you do it?
Man has just as much capability for disgusting evil as it does, like, true good. I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Because the moment that really got me was, right at the end where she's like, "Why did you do it?" And he's like, "Because it made me happy," which
Yeah.
is just like such a human sentiment, but it's
Yeah.
like in this context that makes it like really, really sinister.
Yeah.
So I really love the fuck out of that. I honestly, yeah, I would say an 8.5. I'll be the dissenting one here.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair enough. And next week we're going to be talking about uh, Greeks bearing gifts, which I haven't seen this in a while, but I think it definitely might have some stuff to talk about. I can't remember how well it handles some of its things, so we might bitch about it a bit or not. I can't remember. Until then, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can send us an email. What did you think about this episode, the episodes we talked about this week? What do you think about the episodes that we're going to talk about next week? Send your emails in and we'll read them on air. Nobody's done stuff yet, but, I'm going to keep plugging it because I think that's a cool way of interacting with our single-digit audience size. Yeah, we also have a Patreon, which you can now contribute to get benefits like early episodes or access to watch parties or access to listen to us recording to the episode live. You can find me on Twitter at WheatleyDL. I mainly post like music and gaming stuff.
I'm Skylar. You can find me on Twitter at skyhigh9_5. If you want, no pressure. Just putting it out there. Love you.
And I am communist icon John McCain's brain tumor, and you can find me at feetdetector on twitter.com.
What if you made it a Twitter account that the @ was John McCain's brain tumor?
I am absolutely certain, without even checking, that that's been taken.
Let me look this. I'm gonna look it up.
If it's not, it's going to my new cursed account.
No, it's not taken.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
If you just do like all one word, no caps, or well, I don't know if it's case sensitive.
It's
all
not
one
case
word,
sensitive.
no punctuation. It's not taken.
How has this happened twice? How has this happened twice?
Anyways, yeah. Until then, we'll see you all next week. Fuck, now I gotta find a rip of the Infinite Quest because I don't have a Blu-ray drive. And the only copy of the episode that I own is on Blu-ray.
Rip.
Wait, how did you set it up? John McCain tumor.
Just John McCain's brain tumor. At John McCain's brain tumor. Is that too long?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
That's why. And John, the shortest you can do it is John McCain tumor, and that's taken. So
Okay.
I knew it was gonna be taken.
Is McCain brain tumor taken?
Let me try. I think that would be one too long.
Damn.
Maybe you could make the 2 in tumor a 2. It wouldn't be as funny, but
McCain brain tumo.
alas, the corporations deny us the memes.
F. God damn it, at Jack.